All right, welcome to today's explainer. Look, we are going to completely rethink how we use AI to study and actually learn. Seriously, if you've been feeling like you're using all these incredible cutting-edge AI tools, but somehow retaining less information than ever, honestly, don't worry. You are absolutely not alone in that. It's a huge thing right now. So today, we're going to break down exactly why that's happening and, way more importantly, how we fix it. Because, we all know this universal modern experience by now, right? You've got a complex question, you paste it into ChatGPT, and boom, instant, beautifully written answer. You drop it into your notes, maybe your assignment, and you move on. On paper, your homework looks fantastic. But in reality, your actual understanding didn't move an inch. It just gave you this giant false sense of productivity. So here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1, the AI study trap. 2, the value of friction. 3, the science of learning. 4, 2 different workflows. And finally, number 5, the real question. All right, jumping right into number 1, the AI study trap, answers versus knowledge. Let's really look at what happens when tools are designed just to give you the answers. I mean, the most popular AI tools out there today are basically just super-powered answer engines. But studying isn't just about getting the answer, right? It's about building the actual mental pathways in your brain so you can find those answers on your own later. When AI does all the heavy lifting and finding for you, it feels incredibly productive. But your brain, it's just a passenger. And since you didn't do the navigation, your brain never actually paves the road. You've probably heard that old proverb about giving a person a fish versus teaching them to fish. Well, one tool hands you a polished answer on a silver platter, while the other, specifically Google's free NotebookLM, forces you to actively engage with the material. Now, sure, you could meticulously prompt ChatGPT, telling it to quiz you or asking it to not give you the direct answers, but let's be real here. Who actually has a discipline to do that at 11 p.m. when you're tired? Which brings us to section 2, the value of friction. Making learning stick. So why on earth is making things harder actually the secret to learning? Well, in almost all software design, friction is the absolute enemy. Tech companies want buying a product or searching a site to be literally effortless. But in education, friction is actually a feature. Cognitive scientists call this desirable difficulty. The exact moment a concept feels slightly hard to grasp, that is the moment your brain actually fires up and starts encoding it into memory. And NotebookLM works so well because it builds this desirable difficulty directly into the product. You don't have to rely purely on your own sheer willpower. So how exactly does it do that? Well, you have to upload your own material. Your lecture slides, your textbook chapters, your handwritten notes, the whole shebang. The AI is completely restricted. It only works with what you feed it. And every single answer it gives you comes with a specific citation pointing to the exact page in your documents. This is an absolute game changer because it uniquely solves this major issue called syllabus mismatch. ChatGPT might explain a concept perfectly, but if it doesn't use the specific terminology your professor expects for Friday's exam, yeah, you're kind of out of luck. Grounding the AI in your own notes ensures you're learning the exact right material. Okay, moving on to section 3, the science of learning, decades of research. Let's actually look at what the research says about all this. First up, testing versus reading. There's some fascinating research out of Purdue University that perfectly illustrates this. They found that testing yourself yields an over 100% increase in retention compared to just passively rereading your notes. Like double the retention. Rereading feels comfortable, right? It feels productive. Testing feels uncomfortable. But the uncomfortable one is the one that actually sticks. This is exactly why using NotebookLM to automatically generate quizzes and flashcards from your specific notes is so vital. It literally forces active retrieval. Second, teaching is widely considered the absolute deepest form of learning. In fact, studies show that students who prepare to teach a topic perform nearly 50% better on tests than those who just study it traditionally. 50%. And that brings us to a super cool feature, NotebookLM's audio overview. Basically, it creates a custom podcast of 2 AI hosts discussing your notes. When you listen to this, you aren't just doing passive review. Your brain naturally shifts into the teacher's evaluator mode. You start finding yourself asking, wait, did they get that right? Is that actually what Chapter 4 said? You essentially become the teacher checking the student's work. Now, quick caveat here, this works best after you've already done a first pass of the reading. If you haven't even seen the material yet, you're not going to be able to catch their oversimplifications. Third, we really just have to respect our brain's bandwidth limit. If you ask a general AI a question, it throws the entire internet at you. Links, tangents, stuff you didn't even ask about. It is totally overwhelming. But working inside NotebookLM, it's like working in a sealed room. It's just you and your 20 pages of notes. By completely removing those internet rabbit holes, your brain doesn't have to waste precious energy filtering out 10,000 irrelevant pages. You get to focus entirely on your specific material.
All right, section 4, 2 different workflows, a practical comparison.
Let's make this highly practical. Let's look at a side-by-side comparison of a biology student studying mitosis. In the standard everyday workflow, our student opens a chat, types "explain mitosis," and instantly gets this beautifully polished paragraph pulled from somewhere on the internet. They read it once, nod their head, and close the tab. Super fast, right? But because they just consumed that information passively, heavily relying on that instant gratification, that knowledge is completely fuzzy by the time test day actually rolls around. Now let's contrast that with the NotebookLM workflow. The student uploads their bio lecture slides. During their commute, they listen to the audio overview, actively evaluating the AI hosts, and actually catching an oversimplification they made. Later on, they generate a custom quiz, and they get 3 questions wrong. But that's great, because now they know exactly where their blind spots are. They ask the AI to explain those specific gaps, and the AI answers by directly citing slide 14 and slide 22 from their professor's deck. Do you see the difference there? The first workflow just consumed information. This workflow actively constructed understanding, layer by layer.
Which brings us to our final section, number 5, the real question. Reframe your tools.
As we wrap up this explainer, we really need to recognize a fundamental truth here. The AI tools that make our lives easier tonight are fundamentally different from the tools that make us effective on test day. Easier feels amazing in the moment. I mean, you get to close your laptop early. But effective? That is what actually matters when you need to recall and apply that information in the real world. If you take away just one single rule of thumb from today's explainer, please let it be this. Use AI to outsource the heavy lifting of organizing. Let it sort your PDFs, transcribe your lectures, build your flashcards, all of that. But never, ever outsource the thinking. You have to force your brain to do the heavy lifting of understanding.
So, I'm going to leave you with this. The next time you sit down to study or master a new topic, stop asking which AI gives the best or fastest answers. Instead, ask yourself this one provocative question. Which AI makes me do the thinking? Because at the end of the day, doing that mental work is literally the only guaranteed way to turn a generated answer into real, deep knowledge that you actually own. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy studying!